Good evening, everyone. Thanks for watching another video on West Australian metal detecting on this Anzac Day 2021. For all those who have served and who are serving, lest we forget. Okay, just going to go through this new kit that I've done up. Difference between this one and my original kit. Differences between the two. Why I've added a couple of things to it. And yeah, I'm just going to go the stuff that's already on here that you've seen before in my first two videos on my actual kit. I'll just skim over those couple of things because you would have seen it and you wouldn't know why I've got those things on here. Sorry. So, I'm just going to go for this first one. This first pouch here. Now, if you go into the shops, they're called an ammo pouch. Now, they used to be, when they originally were brought out, they used to have, they can actually hold 3 F88 or Steyr mags in each of these pouches. So that's what they call, more commonly known as an ammo pouch. Now, in this one, first pouch, I've got my little folding shovel here. As you can see, it's about, not even size, about just a little bit bigger than my palm. That's really handy to have. These 3 next pouches, they've got my water canteens in them. Now, the reason why I'm carrying 3, not just 1 or 2, purely because when I was last out detecting, I checked my main gear, which has only got 1 water bottle on, or had just 1 on it. And the other 2 were on my auxiliary gear. Now, I checked my main gear. Everything was fine. It was water bottles topped up. I had everything that I expected to. I was going to check my backup gear, my auxiliary gear, and I had to go and do something. And I thought I'd checked it all. I hadn't. So I went out for a few hours in quite, like, it was fairly decent heat. Thought I had 3. I only had really just over 1. So you can imagine why that's wasn't a good thing. So now, when I check my main gear, I've got as much water as I can carry. I'm going to check it because it is my main gear, and I'm going to make damn sure that I've got more than enough water for when I usually go out. So in this first pouch here, I've got, let's open this up. That's another good thing about these pouches. They've got, well, your canteen pouches, they've got where your normal canteens sit, but they've got these little pouches on the front. They're quite handy for, like, say, things like this. I've got a headlamp, and pop that back in there, and I'll get, if I can get to it, there we go. And I've got another torch. Now, if you purposely go out and at night detect, which is a little bit different, it is actually a little bit fun, and especially if you go out during the day and you get carried away, don't realise the time. Sorry, oh, a bit of dust in the shed here. And you go, oh shit, I've got to get back to the car. You can't see where you're going. So having that, even a little torch is handy. But that's another thing, you got to make sure that it works before you go out. Because more than likely, you are going to be back in daylight, and you're going to have no trouble walking through the bush. The bush can look the same during the daylight. It's going to look like a carbon copy at night time. So just a handy thing to have. This second one here, I've just got my spare cords, charging cord, and a hard cord from my headphones to my detector. If I'm using headphones, I'm usually out detecting by myself, so I don't generally have my headphones on me. In this same pouch, sorry, I've got a triangular bandage, and very similar again in this next one. I've got what they call a field dressing. Now, if anyone's ever watched particularly Vietnam War movies, you're going to see one of these things come out. They look like that, and it's a great big white bandage that comes out. If anyone's ever watched, just top of my head, really good example of what these things are. The odd angry shot, towards the end of the movie, a guy gets blown up by a mine. Now, they put a wrap of white bandage around his jaw because he cops part of the shrapnel in his jaw. Now, that large white bandage is exactly what that is. It's a field dressing. It's great for if you've got open wound, like large gashes, open wounds, things like that. So just a little bit off track there, but just so context, you know what I'm talking about, and you can see, without me having to pull it out, you know what I'm talking about. This next pouch here is what they call a bum bag. Now, I used to be in the cadets myself. I used to put things in here like raincoat, hoochie, things like that. If you're interested in knowing what a hoochie is, other bits and pieces, Google it. There's a few movies, or even join your local cadets. So, in here, I'm using this as my fines bag now. So in here, I keep tomahawk or hatchet, depending on what part of the world you come from, and a kitty litter scoop. Now this is good for sifting through small digs, etc. To me, buying an expensive one, a metal one, wasn't. I found more use in this because, one, it's cheaper, and two, it's plastic. And if you're trying to find something and you've got it in your scope and the scoop's metal, well, it's going to be picking up. Sorry about the bad camera work there, guys. It can be picking up the scoop. So plastic for me is the way to go. Except you're from the beach and you've got one of those great big long scoops on a stick. Yeah. So that's it for. Oh, and I've also got in here Ziploc bags. Yeah, that's for smaller finds like buttons, badges, buckles, things like that. Okay, on to the next one. You could probably already see from the bad camera work here some other items from my other kit, and yeah. So in here, GPS, and I've got a survival kit. Yeah, it's got Special Forces on it, but you can buy these from, in particular, MDS in Midland, in WA. I think you can buy them online, I'm not entirely sure, but I bought one from the shop. So, again, I've got that in there as a just-in-case thing. If I get stuck or for whatever reason, I can't get back to my vehicle, I've got my GPS, and normally have my mobile phone on me, so I can at least get through to someone and say, look, this is my location, come and get me. Next couple of things are this is what they call a digging blade. Now these are really good for digging in lawn, things like that, because you can actually, it tells you on the detector, sometimes it will tell you, so it's a couple of centimeters down, or on here it's millimeters and inches, so it could tell you, okay, it's 10 centimeters down. So you can sort of dig into about there, and you probably put the blade into about that mark there, just so you know, or make sure that you're getting down below it. Pinpointer and prospecting pick. Now I'm just going to briefly show you. Oh yes, and you've obviously seen this one before. That's my main folding shovel, and what they call an ET, an entrenching tool. Little pick on the end, shovel on the other. Again, another handy piece of kit to have. I haven't seen this type for years, mainly because that one was made in 1969, and I bought it from a military surplus shop. So, yeah. So I've got it on the back here. I've got it in such a way, everything on this kit, I could go out with just this kit and my detector for several hours and not have to worry about too much. Well, not have to worry about a thing, because you can go without food overnight. But if you're stuck out there overnight without water, well, you could be in a bit of trouble. You can get dehydrated, and that has other complications to it. So I've got my ET on the back. This harness here, this is called an 8-point harness. So you've got 2 points on either shoulder, so there, and I don't know if you can really see it, it's kind of bad, another 2 there's 2, 4, 6, 8. this is really good for weight distribution. That's why I've gone to this one. I can carry more stuff, more comfortable, and it's, even though I've got a little bit more weight to it, with the old one, which was just what is what they call a deluxe harness. You can buy them from most detecting shops. Now, the bum back on that was actually about half the size of this one, and you couldn't move it. It was actually stitched onto the harness itself. Now, that's great if you just want a really basic setup and you just go into your local park. But for me, I'll go out in the bush, walk for hours on end, which is another reason why I've got the GPS. So the way this is set up, it allows me to go out for longer and bring home more artifacts, relics, however you want to call it. Yeah, so, yeah, look, if you got any questions, leave them in the comments section below, or you can even contact me via Facebook. Actually, no, you can't, because I've got my set up. So just look, if you want to contact me, just leave comments in the comment section below. I'll try and get back to you. But again, yeah, why I've gone to this is purely because, to this harness, I should say, is I can carry more, and it allows me to go for longer, and it's a lot more comfortable. So, alright, look, thanks for watching again. Now, as I mentioned right at the start, it is Anzac Day here in Australia and New Zealand. Now, this channel and myself personally have always been a very staunch supporter of our armed forces. Now, you don't necessarily, this is going to go a little bit personal, you don't necessarily have to support or like or encourage war, but we do owe our veterans, our current serving people, I was going to turn this around, yeah, there you go. You don't necessarily have to support or like war, but we do owe our veterans and our current serving personnel a great deal of respect. We at least owe them that. Yeah, it's just you just hear the horror stories of what they've seen, particularly World War I, World War II, Vietnam. You just got to hear just a handful of stories to go, these guys have been through a lot. So we at least owe them the respect and the gratitude for doing what they've done. Yeah, so this channel, myself, has always supported them. So, look, yeah, all right, well, thanks for watching. And just for our diggers both here in Australia and across the ditch in New Zealand, thank you very much. And lest we forget. All right, till next time, thank you very much.